You got the drop on 50 Cent one time?
We thought we did until we got in there. Mike called us, told he was up there. I got up there. We got up there, we came in and strapped to they thigh, bullies on them, semis on them, magazine cartridges. I said, yeah, he ain't slipping.
Today's not the day.
Nah. 50 moved different.
And did 50
I'm glad
see
that
you?
didn't happen. Though. You see me? But he didn't know that's what we was on. We never approached it. I'm glad it never happened. Things worked out.
50 Cent taught us that, not trying to throw shots at him. Sure. But you could not do nothing to him because he had that real security.
A lot of people see 50 Cent as one of the sharpest operators in the industry, and Wack 100 ended up learning that in real time. Tony Yayo said it straight. According to him, G-Unit never had to check in with anybody when they moved around the country. He even called the crew a militant movement. And 50 backed it up with his own words, saying, "I come from a place where you have to be ready. Don't get ready, you gotta be ready." That line set the tone for how he handled every situation he stepped into. So when Wack 100 tried applying pressure toward 50,
Respect to Eminem, 50, and that was with us. So Suge came, he had some Mexican niggas. Now we from New York. You ain't never seen a nigga with a tattoo on his forehead. Lights the cigar, and it's the shit about Suge. He light the cigar, and he trying to see what you gonna do. So Eminem, 50, everybody outside.
things went in a direction he clearly did not expect. In one of Wack's more recent Clubhouse appearances, he dropped another wild story involving 50, taking it back to the days when 50 was in Los Angeles and still clashing with Game. Since Wack was managing Game at the time, he placed himself right in the middle of the conflict, trying to control the energy around it. According to Wack, he decided to confront 50 at his hotel in LA, but things unraveled differently than he imagined.
50 just look at James Cruz, so he just taps James Cruz and say, yo, go buy 20 knives. Yeah, just go to the hardware store. It was about 20 to 15 of us, something like that. Suge Knight got like some crazy looking, Compton looking dudes with him, you know what I'm saying? So it just, you felt the energy. I wouldn't say we were scared, but it was the Vibe Awards. When we seen Suge Knight and Irv Gotti, and they walked past the trailer.
He says someone tipped him off that 50 was at the SLS Hotel, specifically near a small bar area. Wack gathered his people, around 10 deep, and walked inside ready to press him. But the second he entered, Wack says the whole vibe felt wrong. He noticed that 50 wasn't alone. He was surrounded by what looked like 8 highly trained security professionals, the kind of team that moved like they had military experience. Their movements were tight, focused, and organized, making it clear they were prepared for anything.
The mysterious video that vanished from InfoMind's channel was about none other than 50 Cent. This is what InfoMinds did. He would show pictures of 50 Cent, different pictures of 50 Cent in regular settings, right? Until InfoMinds highlighted this guy that was in like every picture. Remember that shit that happened to Slow Bucks on that stage? InfoMind's documentary had footage from that Slow Bucks situation. He was highlighting niggas and shit.
Wack described them as alert and locked in, making him realize 50 had already anticipated the possibility of someone pulling up on him. Looking back, Wack admitted he thinks 50 may have even allowed the situation to unfold just so he could prove a point and show who really controlled the environment. To some people hearing the story, it sounded like Wack might have been trying to extort or pressure 50, especially since 50 never checked in when he was in LA. Wack has always been vocal about how important checking in is, even though he tries to soften it by saying it's just about letting people know you're in their city. He also claims he checks in himself whenever he travels. But in street culture, checking in carries a deeper meaning. When a rapper or celebrity lands in a city with a strong street presence, they're expected to tap in with local figures for a kind of unofficial pass in return for safety and respect. It's not written down anywhere, but everybody knows how the system works. Those local figures usually expect something in return. It might be money, a feature for one of their people, introductions to industry connections, whatever benefits their circle. Some folks say checking in is just a small sign of respect, like saying, hey, I'm in your area, keeping things cool. But others call it exactly what it feels like, extortion. Because if it were really only about respect, there wouldn't be consequences when someone refuses to check in. In cities like LA, some artists choose to link up with certain gangs for protection, treating it almost like street insurance. But not every rapper is willing to play into that system. And 50 Cent is one of the rare artists who simply does not follow those rules. He never moved by fear, and he never entertained arrangements he didn't agree with. And Wack wasn't the only blood-affiliated figure who tried stepping toward 50. Suge Knight tried to run his own play too. The tension between Suge and 50 traces back to Dr. Dre. When Dre walked away from Death Row Records and built his own empire, Suge took it as betrayal. Things escalated even more once Dre signed Eminem, and later brought 50 Cent into the Aftermath family. Since Suge already had long-standing issues with Dre, 50 and M ended up inheriting that same conflict by association. Suge wasn't the type to let old problems fade out. He made sure people knew he was still around and paying attention. One of the most talked about moments happened during the filming of 50's video for In Day Club. Everything was running smooth until somebody suddenly yelled out, "Suge Knight is here." That single line flipped the mood on set instantly. Suge had pulled up with a squad of around 30 people, and many were rumored to be connected to a Mexican gang. It was classic Suge, showing up without warning, bringing a crowd, shifting the energy in the room, and sending a clear message just by appearing. Then came the chaos at the 2004 Vibe Awards. The night was supposed to be a celebration. Dr. Dre was being honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award, and Snoop Dogg and Quincy Jones were on stage getting ready to present it. But right as Dre stepped up to receive the award, the entire vibe flipped. A man named Jimmy James Johnson approached Dre like he wanted an autograph. Instead, he hit Dre with a sucker punch in front of the whole room. What followed after that punch was complete disorder. The entire place erupted, and the moment turned into a full-scale brawl that nobody saw coming. People in the audience started screaming as the whole venue broke into chaos. Chairs were flying, the crowd was pushing toward the exits, and almost 1,000 people tried to escape at the same time. Right in the middle of all that madness was young Buck. Reports claimed Buck had a knife and was seen swinging during the fight, and it was later confirmed that he stabbed Johnson. Supposedly to protect Dr. Buck wasn't the only one who went after Johnson either. He was jumped by several people in the middle of that huge brawl, and the situation turned into a massive legal mess. Arrest warrants went out, and Buck ended up facing serious charges. Nobody could say for sure whether Suge Knight had planned the whole thing, but there were more than enough strange details to make people suspicious. Tony Yayo even said that not long after everything exploded, he saw Suge Knight and Irv Gotti walking right past the G-Unit trailer. That alone made people look twice. It felt like something bigger was brewing behind the scenes, and the timing was too perfect to ignore. When they walked past the trailer, 50 Cent didn't sit around guessing. As soon as he heard what might be happening, he told his people to go buy a bunch of knives, just in case things shifted in the wrong direction. And judging by the way the night went, he wasn't wrong for staying ready. In the end, Tony Yayo got 3 years of probation and was ordered to complete 80 hours of community service for his role in the incident. This whole situation showed one thing clearly. 50 Cent always kept himself prepared for whatever came his way. He didn't just rely on top-level professional security. He also surrounded himself with people who had real street awareness and loyalty, people who were ready to protect him without hesitation. One of the strongest examples of that was his bodyguard Monster. Monster wasn't just another security guy, he was 50's main bodyguard and enforcer. If you were looking for 50, you could almost guarantee Monster wasn't far. He moved with him everywhere, watching the room, checking corners, making sure no threat got near. Monster had the reputation of being the definition of a goon, quiet but effective. He kept things low-key, rarely talked, and handled his job with a level of seriousness that made people pay attention without him ever having to say a word. He stayed private, so there isn't much public info about him, but anyone who watched 50's old footage has definitely spotted him. He was always a few steps behind 50's, like a shadow, making sure nothing ever caught him off guard. There's even an old clip of 50 walking through an airport where you can see Monster trying to cover his face from the paparazzi, moving low-key while still keeping an eye on everything. Whenever 50 performed at clubs, Monster was there too, standing close, watching every angle, and tracking anyone who might get bold. One of the most talked about moments involving Monster happened during the tension between 50 and Trav on stage. If you look closely at the footage, you can see Monster in the background, focused and locked in on Trav, ready to step in the second anything shifted. It showed just how serious he was about keeping danger away from 50. For years, Monster moved like 50's shadow, always a few steps ahead, making sure nobody had the chance to get too close. There were even rumors that 50 had a video removed from a well-known YouTube channel called Info Minds, which had dropped a documentary-style breakdown about Monster and the role he played in 50's personal security. Info Minds is known for detailed street documentaries, so when they released a video exposing parts of 50's real security team, it caught a lot of attention. The video allegedly showed Monster in several photos standing beside 50, explaining how he was the quiet enforcer who handled things behind the scenes. They reportedly even highlighted an incident Monster was connected to while on duty for 50. The documentary also went into a situation involving 50 and Slowbucks at Hot 97's Summer Jam in 2014. That was the infamous moment where Slowbucks got punched and had his chain taken on stage in front of thousands. Info Minds reportedly laid out the full timeline of what happened that night and connected certain actions to 50's circle. Soon after, the video disappeared from YouTube, and people started whispering that 50 personally asked for it to be removed, which only made the situation feel more suspicious. Monster's loyalty didn't just stay in the background. It eventually pushed him into serious legal trouble over the years. He ended up getting locked up multiple times because of incidents tied to protecting 50. Monster picked up several assault charges for putting hands on people who got too close or crossed lines near 50's space. One of the most well-known cases happened in 2010, when Monster was charged with assault in Copenhagen, Denmark. The incident reportedly took place outside the Scandic Hotel, where a group of photographers had gathered, waiting for 50 to come outside. According to the New York Daily News, things escalated when Monster allegedly confronted two photographers who had been trying to snap photos, and the situation turned physical. The charges that followed showed just how far Monster was willing to go to keep 50 safe. One of the photographers, Nicolo Vera, later told Radar Online that everything escalated fast. He said, "One of 50 Cent's bodyguards came out and told us to leave. The next thing I knew, he grabs my throat and tried to strangle me. He cut off my airway and I couldn't breathe. He took my camera and deleted photos." Vera said the situation shook him so badly that he went straight to the hospital to get checked out. He also made it clear he had no plans to let it go, saying he would head to the police station and file whatever paperwork was needed. The whole situation raised a bigger question. Why did 50 keep such heavy security around him? Some people criticized him, saying he relied too much on police-style protection and that it made him look weak. But others argued it was just a smart move. When you consider what he lived through, especially getting shot, it becomes clear why he refused to take chances. To understand the full picture, you have to go back to Supreme McGriff. In the 1980s, Supreme founded a gang named after himself, the Supreme Team, in the Jamaica area of Queens, New York. Under his leadership, the crew expanded to hundreds of members and controlled the crack cocaine trade in the Baisley Park houses where McGriff grew up. The operation reportedly made around $200,000 a day during its peak. But in 1987, McGriff was hit with a 12-year prison sentence. He was released on parole in 1994, but didn't stay free for long. By the end of the same year, he was already back behind bars. It wasn't until 1997 that he managed to clear his convictions and step into a different role. He started working with Ja Rule and the people at Murder Inc., becoming a key planner for the label and offering protection to their artists. During this period, Prime and 50 actually had a decent relationship, but 50's career was struggling. He wasn't a star yet, nowhere near the fame level Ja Rule had at the time. Money was tight, and opportunities were limited. That pressure is part of what pushed 50 to release the track, How to Rob. He used the shock value to get attention and bring eyes to his project. Then came the well-known feud with Ja Rule. According to 50, the situation started when his friend Troy robbed Ja Rule. Later, when 50 and Ja crossed paths at a club, 50 tried to clear the air, but Ja believed 50 was involved in the robbery. Years later, Ja confirmed that the robbery happened, but denied ever seeing 50 with the person who robbed him. Supreme eventually stepped in and told 50 to stop going at Ja, and because Preme was someone 50 respected in those early days, he agreed to cool things down. But even with that, he kept taking shots at Ja and his music. Then in 1999, a tragedy hit both Primy and 50. Their mutual friend Black Just was unalived. The story goes that rapper E Moneybags wanted to buy a car from Primy and put down a deposit. When he later asked for his money back, Primy brushed it off and told him to forget about it. Things got tense, and one day, E Moneybags allegedly fired shots at Primy while he was in a car with Black Just. Black Just was hit twice, including once in the thigh. Instead of driving straight to the nearby hospital, Primy went back to the neighborhood first and asked someone else to take Just to the hospital. That delay ended up costing Just his life, and E Moneybags made some heavy enemies because of it. The tension between 50 and Ja Rule didn't cool off either. Primy constantly sided with Ja, trying to get 50 to stop pushing the issue and drop the back and forth. But 50 didn't like the fact that Primy kept choosing Ja over him. And to make it worse, Primy didn't see 50 as a potential star at the time. From his perspective, why focus on 50 when you already had a big name like Ja Rule, generating real money? Things exploded even further when Ja and 50 performed at the same club and a fight broke out. During the chaos, 50 got away with Ja Rule's chain, which he later showed in his music video for Life's on the Line. That move embarrassed Ja and escalated everything. Naturally, Ja went back to Supreme again, hoping he could help get the chain returned and calm the situation. At this point, Primy was getting tired of dealing with 50. From his angle, 50 was messing with the image of a superstar and creating constant problems. This was already the second time Primy had been dragged into their conflict. But 50 had no intention of slowing down. He was focused on breaking Murder Inc.'s hold on the industry, and every time Primy sided with Ja, their relationship took another hit. Tony Yayo later told a story about one of the moments when things were falling apart between 50 and Primy. According to him, 50 made it very clear during one of their encounters that he wasn't scared of Primy at all. It was the beginning of the end for whatever respect or understanding they once shared, and it set the stage for everything that came next. To make the situation even more tense, 50 started spending time with E Moneybags, Big Nose Troy, and Green Eyed Born, all of whom had their own issues with Primy. Their connection alone made the streets start talking, and the atmosphere around Queens grew heavier. Things hit their breaking point when 50 dropped the track Ghetto Quran. The song leaked, and it eventually made its way into Primy's hands. In that track, 50 mentioned Supreme directly, and that did not sit well with him at all. 50 said that other rappers had talked about Supreme and his past for years, and Primy never reacted negatively to them. According to 50, Primy was even happy when artists referenced the Supreme team in their songs because it kept his name alive. But when 50 did it, the response was completely different. Some street figures in New York understood 50's record as more of a tribute to what was happening in Queens, but Primy didn't view it as respect. He saw it as a threat. Around that same period, someone attempted to take Primy's life at a gas station, and Primy became convinced that 50 had something to do with it. That belief pushed everything past the point of no return. Supreme decided to eliminate the people he viewed as enemies, and he allegedly put 50 at the top of that list. Primy hired Daryl Baum, also known as Hamo, who had once worked as Mike Tyson's bodyguard, to carry out the hit for a large amount of money. On May 24th, 2050 left his grandmother's house. His son was inside the home, and his grandmother was standing in the front yard. When 50 got into the back seat of a car, another vehicle pulled up beside them. A gunman approached the window and fired 9 shots from a 9mm pistol. 50 was hit in the hand, arm, hip, both legs, chest, and his left cheek. Doctors later said that if the shot to his face had been slightly higher, he would not have survived. After 3 weeks in the hospital and several surgeries, 50 pulled through. His recovery became one of the most famous comeback stories in rap history, turning him into a symbol of survival. 3 years later, the track Many Men would reveal Hamo as the shooter, but by that time, Hamo was already passed. His passing had nothing to do with 50, which removed him from the cycle of retaliation that others fell into. 50 managed to survive the attempt on his life, but some of the people around the situation did not. In July 2001, E Moneybags was found passed inside his Lincoln Navigator. There were 2 main theories about why he was ended. Some believed it was revenge for the passing of Black Just, while others said it was because he had robbed Murder Inc.'s CEO, Irv Gotti, and Ja Rule. Big Nose Troy was unalive 3 months after E-Money Bags, adding another layer to the violence of that era. Eventually, police gathered enough evidence to arrest McGriff in 2002 on pending homicide charges, marking the start of his long legal downfall. During the court investigation, Supreme brought up the song Ghetto Quran, acting like the lyrics alone were enough to pin something on 50. When investigators questioned 50 about the details in the record, he didn't fold or add anything. He simply told them, "Listen to the record." He wasn't giving the police anything more than what was already public. In 2003, Irv Gotti ended up under federal investigation too, putting Murder Inc. in a dangerous position. Then in 2005, Gotti was officially charged with laundering money for McGriff. The case dragged on, but the jury eventually found him not guilty. Even though Gotti walked away cleared, McGriff didn't get the same outcome. McGriff was convicted of substance trafficking, racketeering, and unaliving in New York federal court. Testimony from hired shooters, text messages, and video evidence stacked up against him. Prosecutors proved he had paid $50,000 to have slayings carried out. When the government froze all his and Gotti's assets, McGriff couldn't even afford his own defense attorney and ended up with a court-appointed lawyer. On April 9, 2007, he was sentenced to life in prison. The shooting of 50 Cent changed how the public saw him. Before the attack, most people knew him as a hungry rapper making noise in New York. After surviving 9 shots, he became something bigger in the culture. People viewed him as someone who made it through a situation most don't walk away from. His toughness, his recovery, and the way he rebuilt himself made the story legendary in hip-hop. The hit didn't just affect his career, it shifted the mindset of the entire rap world. Artists started taking safety more seriously, fans saw the streets differently, and 50 became a symbol of survival. So when people question why he keeps heavy security, or why he spends real money to stay protected, the answer is simple. It's not weakness, it's a man valuing his life. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to comment, like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and see you on the next one.